Hi, my name is Benjamin Kolz and I'm a conversational AI consultant at Artificial Solutions. Today we are going to look into hybrid intent recognition in Teneo, which combines the power of learning from data via machine learning with a linguistic rule-based approach which makes sure that certain criteria are met in the user input, as for example that the user mentions a product which is actually supported by our bot. Let's take a look. In today's episode we are going to see how we can create hybrid match requirements for intent recognition in Teneo. We are going to use for this a solution called Longberry Baristas, which helps users with different requests around coffee. So let's have a look first of all into one flow of this solution, which is called User Asks About Calories in a Drink. This trigger contains a class as match requirement. It will be triggered when a user input is classified as a class how many calories in flat white, and the confidence of the classification is higher than the confidence threshold set up in the solution properties. This is by default 0.45. You can check the confidence threshold by going to the solution properties as we see here. But now let's take a look into our advanced tryout. Now let's send a user input to the tryout engine to see if we get the expected result. How many calories does a cup of cappuccino have? As we can see, it shows us the expected class, how many calories in flat white, with a confidence score of 72%. This confidence is high enough to activate the expected trigger. We use this type of class-based intent triggers quite often in Teneo, and they are completely based on the outcome of a machine learning classifier. Now let's take another look at a flow called partial understanding coffee. The trigger that we now see only contains a language object as match requirement. It will match on all user inputs containing the word coffee and its synonyms. Let's have a look on what's inside this language object. So this language object contains the word coffee itself and different types of coffee, such as espresso, cappuccino, etc. We call this kind of trigger that we have created a keyword trigger, since it's quite broad. It usually sits in a very low position in the intent trigger ordering because of that. Let's give this a try in our advanced tryout panel. Now let's send the user input what is coffee to our tryout engine and see what happens. As we can see here, it matched our recently created keyword trigger, and all the confidence scores for the existing classes of the machine learning classifier were quite low. Now, since we have seen two different types of match requirement, the question is, can we combine those two in some way? And the answer is yes. Let's have a look. We open now a flow called the user asks about coffees we often. The trigger of this flow uses a match requirement referring to a class tell me about your coffee, and it is trained on sentences such as do you serve cappuccino, tell me about your coffee, what kind of coffees do you have, etc. But what happens now if we send to the tryout a user input such as do you serve burgers? As we can see here, we fire the wrong trigger, since it's our tell me about your coffee trigger, and give the wrong answer to the user. Our machine learning classifier gives us a confidence of almost 90%, which means that we don't have enough or good enough data at the moment to make the model robust enough to identify if this was really around coffees. So we have seen different type of match requirements already. Maybe we could combine them somehow. Let's take a look. Now let's open our flow in edit mode and add an additional match requirement to it. So besides our class match requirement, we will use also the language object match requirement that we have seen already around the coffee synonyms. In this way we make sure that the user input matches on the one hand the class, but on the other hand also our language object. You can see this as kind of an AND relationship between the two match requirements. They both need to be fulfilled. And this is what we call a hybrid trigger. So let's save this And let's test it again. Do you serve burgers? Sorry, we only serve coffee at the moment. So that looks much better now. Now that our user input "do you serve burgers" works as expected, let's try one of those user inputs which should still go into our coffee answer. Do you serve espresso? And as we see, this is giving us the right answer. It's fulfilling our class match requirement, our language object match requirement, and the confidence score is higher than what we need for the confidence threshold of 0.45. Now that this is working, let's try a user input which is a bit more difficult maybe, such as, what about the coffee cups you have? As we can see here, it's not really giving us the right answer, right? So we are talking about coffee cups and it's giving us the answer around coffee. We are fulfilling the language object match requirement and also the class match requirement. But if we take a closer look at the classification, we can actually see that the confidence score went down quite by a bit, but is still higher than our confidence threshold. So maybe we would like to adjust this trigger and increase the confidence minimum that we need to fire this trigger for the specific trigger. And we can do that. Let's take a look. So we open our flow again in edit mode, and what we will do now is to replace in our trigger the class match requirement by a condition match requirement, in which we can make reference by an annotation to our machine learning class, and we will add a customized confidence threshold by means of a predicate script. Please make sure to check the description below, where I will leave you links to all the necessary documentation if you want to read more about annotations and predicate scripts. It's very interesting. So let's do this. We will add now the condition match requirement, make reference to the annotation of the class by the %, $, and the name of the class. Tell me about your coffee. Dot top intent. And now we will set a predicate script which indicates the minimum threshold that we want to have so that this trigger can fire. And we do that by putting in the colon together with curly brackets and in between the lob.confidence with reference to the confidence score that we want to use. In this case, let's use 0.6. So we are increasing basically the minimum confidence from 0.45, which would be the confidence threshold, to 0.6 for this specific trigger by means of this condition that we have created right now. Since we are now using this condition to make reference to our class, we will remove the class match requirement. And we need to save again. If we go back now to tryout, we can just click on the user input to have it again, restart the conversation, and we will see that it's now giving the correct answer. We are not firing anymore the wrong answer, since we increased for this specific trigger the confidence threshold. Let's confirm quickly to our bot with a yes that we want to reserve one of those mugs, and then we are done for today. In today's episode, we have seen how we can combine different types of match requirements to implement hybrid intent recognition. In this way, we can increase the performance of our NLU layer. I hope you enjoyed this video and check out also our next episode. See you!